Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Natasha Iyer, and I'm here with Dr. Shabnam Daskar. Today, we're going to be talking to you about some things about breast cancer that are not often talked about in mainstream media and with day-to-day readings. It's sort of cancer is one of those things people treat and they look for solutions after they get it when they're completely distressed by it. But there's so much you can do to prevent it. And I think the most important thing we want you to get out of this is that out of everybody who gets breast cancer, and you know that breast cancer is rising regardless of the public education campaigns, regardless of the amount of money that's raised to increase breast cancer awareness, we're creating awareness of a disease that exists and is getting worse, but we're not talking about the things you need to do early to prevent it. And if only 10%, between 5 and 10% of all the people who get breast cancer have the gene for breast cancer. So we're looking at 90 to 95% of people who get breast cancer having no gene, no family history, no risks that they know of, right? And so we want to talk to you about these things because if 1 in 8 women are going to get breast cancer in their lifetime, and 90 to 95% of them have no known risk or family history, then what is it causing it? So we're going to chat with you about that. As a functional medicine physician, of course, I'm dedicating my life to helping you restore your body to its most natural and optimal performance. And Dr. Carr, tell us about you and your passion for functional medicine.
Thank you, Natasha. So I'm Dr. Shabnam Daskar. I'm a functional medicine doctor and a brain health coach. But by background, I was an OBGY in India for many years. And Natasha, as you rightly mentioned, we didn't talk about prevention of breast cancer. A lot of the conversation, I was in India. A lot of the conversation was about early diagnosis. And I'm saying, no, there are a lot of things you can do to prevent.
That's
So
right.
that is what Dr. Iyer and I are going to focus on. And we start with, so you're going to go away with things that you can do for yourself. Yes, of course, you need a physician to help you with a lot of other things, but we focus on things you can implement right away. And when we talk about breast cancer, or for that matter, any disease, the most important system in our body is the immune system. So, Natasha, will you tell
Is
our.
that right, Dr. Carr? Like, seriously? Your
Oh,
immune
yeah. I
system?
mean, your immune system decides everything about your health, whether you're going to get dementia, whether you're going to get a mood disorder, whether you have heart disease, whether you get breast cancer or any cancer for
Whether your
that matter.
skin ages or not is also to do with your immune system.
Yeah. So everything is about the immune system, and we talk about how can you build immune resilience. Now, you don't want to boost your immune system. That's a different category, autoimmune conditions and all of that. So you want to build your immune resilience. And both of us, we are women, and I was an OBGY, and we talk a lot about, and of course, our patients, a lot of them are women. One of the very interesting things is how do hormones impact your immune system? So, Natasha, you're going to talk about our favorite hormones.
Okay, so, first off the bat, you'll notice us mentioning hormones, and a lot of people think that hormones cause cancer. So, in the first place, your body has many different hormones. It's not just estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And by the way, breast cancer is not just a disease of women. I think we should be very clear that 3% of all breast cancer occurs in men, and men are not excluded from this conversation. And I have a lot of patients who say, I don't have a family history of it. I don't have any concerns. I'm not interested in breast cancer, but I did hear that taking hormones can cause it. So, what's the deal there? And so I don't think we can go into estrogen metabolism and how to do estrogen replacement safely and all of that. But absolutely, your immune system is managed by hormones. And just as an aside, when I was facetiously saying, is the immune system really the most important system? It's because I always tell patients it's your gut that's the most important place to start. And in tandem with that, though, we have the gut immune brain triad. So I guess they're all equivalent. your brain health coaching, the
Natasha,
gut
you're
ambient.
right, because our gut has the largest number of immune cells very
That's
close
right.
to us.
You know,
So
more
you are
than 70 to
absolutely right.
80% of your immune system is in your gut.
Mhm.
So that's why I was teasing you, because I always talk about the gut and pooping, and I tease patients about it. And, but I never go right into, this is about your immune system. I always start with, here's about your gut. So for all of you who work with me and you know what I do, I always start with the gut. And now you know why, because in your gut is your immune system. So which hormones affect your immune system? For me, the most important one, and why I recommend a saliva test early on for my patients, is cortisol. So notice I didn't go with estrogen as the most important thing. Cortisol, when it's too high or too low, can impact how your immune system functions. And patients will say, I don't get sick all the time. In fact, it's been years since I've had a cough, cold, or runny nose. And I go, oh, and what does that mean? Because there's a whole other side of your immune system that manages allergies, your rhinitis, your eczema, your asthma, your hay fever, your chronic sinusitis and postnasal drip. There's so many other things that show up in your body as immune system dysfunction, including these predictive antibodies. When you talked about autoimmunity and the rabbit hole, we could go down there. But suffice to say that managing your stress and keeping your cortisol in good balance, and there are many ways we do that with you as we work together, but cortisol is crucial. And if you think about it, how many people are stressed in this world? Almost everyone. So what does that do to your risk? It raises it substantially. And we also know that, using the saliva testing and that 4-point cortisol curve, we can assess your adrenal function, your production of cortisol, and determine whether you're chronically high, chronically low, or if you change throughout the day. And by managing that and returning it back to a normal curve, we can then improve your immune resilience, as Dr. Carr pointed out. So cortisol, and then Dr. Carr, you said estrogen and T cells, without going too technical, because I know how academic you are, but in very simple terms. Okay, first of all, what's a T cell?
So before I go into T cell, Natasha, when you were talking about the gut, so we are going down the gut, but not into a rabbit hole. So who would have thought that, your poop is related to your estrogen and your breast cancer risk?
I'm so glad you said that.
So the fact is, there are these wonderful bacteria in our gut as well, which metabolizes estrogen. So these are special estrogen metabolizing bacteria in your gut. So if your gut is not healthy, your estrogen metabolism is not going to be healthy. And if estrogen metabolism is not healthy, your risk for breast cancer goes up. And this would apply, to hormone therapy. We just casually mentioned the right kind of hormone therapy, estrogen on the skin, oral micronized progesterone, they will not raise your risk for breast cancer. So we have done many videos on this. You'll get access to all of them. We'll tell you where you can access them. So going back to estrogen and T cells, so very interestingly, women and men, when it comes to everything, but immune system is one of those areas where women and hormones, estrogen, progesterone, they work differently on women's immune system. So in this ongoing COVID pandemic, we found out that women did better than men when it comes to how well they recovered. And again, of course, the usual caveats, age and all those factors. But hormones impact women's immune system very differently than in men. And what has lots and lots of studies have been done. What they found is women, when they are before menopause, obviously they have adequate estrogens and progesterone and testosterone, and it's not just estrogen, all the hormones impact them. So women who have been on hormone therapy have very different immune response, more of immune resilience. So if you want to build your immune resilience, hormones are one of the things you need to look at. And cortisol is another big one. So one thing, Natasha, you and I have talked about this before. A lot of people think that high stress means high cortisol. Now, it may not be high cortisol all the time.
And that's why I said, chronically high or chronically
Yes,
low, because and this is a different conversation to
different
have about
conversation.
adrenal dysregulation and the HPA axis and stress response and all of that. But when you run too high for too long, then you start to not be able to make what you need when you need it, and your whole cortisol production is dysregulated, and it's going to show up as also part of the next topic we're going to tell you about, the second thing. So I'll leave that alone for now, that cortisol will affect this next step we're going to tell you to take to improve your immune resilience. But I think what I'm hearing from you, Dr. Carr, is yet another very important reason for women to consider bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for healthy aging and longevity, regardless of what people think, because we have enough data to show it is not unsafe to replace women's hormones as they age. And so once again, you and I know, in fact, just last night, my son, I'm wearing my hair straight this time, and I put it up, and my son, who's 15 years old, just started gawking at me. And I said, what on earth are you looking at me for? And he goes, Mom, you don't even look 30. You look so young right now. I can't even believe you're 50. And I said, oh, but you see me every day, and I made light of it. But for everything from the outside to the inside, we have such a strong case for safe, monitored, micromanaged bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, because it just makes sense. So thank you. So T cells are just part of your immune system. If you want to just give me a 2 minute, no, not even, we're running low here to get through everything. But tell us what a T cell is.
So T cell is basically one of the most important immune cells in your body, which help you overcome a lot of the stuff. So that's why, the immune system is so fascinating. It's like really wonderful. So T cells are something you want them to be.
Boggles my mind when
Yep.
I research the immune system and look at how each thing works, and you go, how did this machinery get created? In whose wisdom did all of this evolve? Yeah.
So the next, because we are going to run out of time, Natasha, I'm going to the next thing we wanted to tell you all about to build your immune resilience is your sleep. So sleeping poorly, whether it's in duration or quality of sleep, impairs your immune system completely. Particularly, there's something called the natural killer cells. Obviously, from the name, you know that you need them. So if you don't sleep enough, or you get poor quality sleep, your natural killer cells don't function as well. And you can see this in your everyday life. If you don't sleep well, you realize for a few days you haven't slept well, you come up with a cold. So what is a cold? Basically, your immune system didn't work so well. But then also breast cancer, like we said, your immune system is extremely important for breast cancer prevention. So, Natasha, what is it about sleep that we want people to know without going down any of our rabbit holes?
Well, back to hormones. One of the most important hormones of sleep is melatonin. However, too high or too low cortisol affects your sleep as well. And then there's a cortisol melatonin ratio. And how I explain it to patients is like this. In the daytime, you're making cortisol, you decrease your production as the day goes by, and cortisol lowers. At the same time, you're making melatonin and storing it. And then as your cortisol is lowering at night and dusk and before bed, then your melatonin rises, makes you sleepy, and there's a melatonin cortisol ratio. So if your cortisol is too high and you're more stressed out at night, now your cortisol is higher than your melatonin and you cannot sleep. There's a different thing also, that your brain does need some amount of cortisol. So if you're chronically stressed and you're depleted, then you still don't have the right ratio. So that's it, but in any event, melatonin has been shown in many studies to help support the immune system. And there was one in particular that showed it decreased the risk of breast cancer when we optimized or supplemented melatonin levels. So the sleep hormone melatonin is very important to me, and managing my nighttime cortisols are very important to me, with a mother who had breast cancer and an aunt who had breast cancer and a grand aunt that had breast cancer. So, I make it my business to see what all can I do to manage my immune system efficiently and effectively. Now, the other hormone that interrupts sleep or affects sleep is estrogen, right? So back to estrogen, the supposedly bad guy. But when you're deficient in estrogen, you get hot flashes, you get sleep disturbances, you get body temperature dysregulation. But then there's something else about estrogen and the brain, Dr. Carr. How does that affect sleep?
So estrogen along with progesterone, so progesterone is one of our favorite hormones. They are both considered to be, and then of course the testosterone, a lot of the others as well, they are considered to be neurohormones, so neurosteroids, meaning meaning nervous system. So our brains have the ability to make them, no doubt, but then it's also dependent on what is available in your blood. So if the brain makes them, obviously they have a very, very unique and very important role in your lives. That's why the brain has this unique ability to make these hormones. So obviously when you are in menopause, your estrogen, progesterone, all these hormones are much lower. And progesterone and sleep, I mean, there are so many, not just studies, there's so many patients. I have myself benefited so much from progesterone, and so have you. So sleep, progesterone, estrogen replacement, and by the way, melatonin is a supplement. It's something that our bodies are supposed to make naturally, but with age and with exposure to artificial light and all these things, we don't make enough. So it's not something that is essentially something that you're taking out from outside, which is a herb. So there's a difference between the two.
And I
Again,
just want to mention your coaching for brain health, but I
mhm.
would also call you a sleep coach, because your knowledge and your research and your investigation into sleep. I mean, yes, you have a personal reason because you've been challenged with sleep for so long, right? And I've known you for years and years, so I can vouch for the fact that you sleep better now. So all of this research that you've done helps so much. So I would say to everyone, if you're having challenges sleeping and you want, like Dr. Carr can train you in CBTI, she can coach you in many areas to do with hormone rebalancing and sleep in particular. And all of this translates into better brain health at the end of the day. So on our final thing, so we wanted you to have 3 things to learn about today that you may not usually hear about to do with breast cancer. And so the third one, we call it EDCs. What would you like to say about endocrine disrupting chemicals?
Okay, so that's another clever sounding name. So endocrine meaning hormones. So these are hormone disrupting chemicals that are present in our day-to-day life. Some of the commonest sources for women and breast cancer that you're talking about come from your skincare products, your color cosmetics, then your house cleaning products. And then there are a whole bunch of endocrine disrupting chemicals. The list is super, super long that come.
Plastics?
Yes, so I'm coming to that. So using plastic containers, and doesn't matter if they say they are BPA free, the BPA free ones are equally bad. So plastic food containers, water bottles, even till receipts, you can transfer BPA from that. So basically, how are you going to stay away from all these hormone disrupting chemicals? You need to check all the stuff that you use on an everyday basis. And for more information, you can go to a website called ewg.org, and you will receive all these. We have so much to talk about. You'll
So
receive
I would
more
say
information.
sorry,
Go
the
ahead.
first most important thing is educate yourself on what these are. And we try not to give you big lists, because when you research it and you go to the EWG and you find out all of these things, you go, whoa, and then what caught your mind and attention and what you can start paying attention to.
Right.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, in this age of post-pandemic, if you want to call it, we're still using a lot of hand sanitizer. And I've seen women's estrogen spike dramatically when they're using hand sanitizers. So as you said, personal care products, skincare, and all of that, hand sanitizers are particularly awful. One, they contain alcohol, which raises estrogen, and we have a whole video on that one. But the important thing is to know that anything you put on your skin, and then there's certain chemicals like triclosan that blocks testosterone, and when you block testosterone, you can increase estrogen. So there's a whole pathway, we should maybe talk about in a different video, to help patients understand these things better. However, that being said, educate yourself on what endocrine disrupting chemicals are, and then start working through the list. When you attend my workshop, or when you're a new patient and you get that 2-hour teaching session, I cover off on different areas, and you just break it down into, okay, so in my food, do I have herbicides, pesticides, chemicals, additives, preservatives, home care, body care, etc., etc. And then you start looking there and going, how can I clean up? How can I minimize my exposure to artificial chemicals that will block my hormones, and thereby increasing my risk for hormone-related diseases and other chronic diseases, right? Because I mean, you just brought to our attention a few years ago the papers on endocrine disrupting chemicals and heart disease. So I think at the end of the day, what you can see is that everything is connected to everything else. If we talk to you about your immune system, we got to look after your gut. If we talk to you about your gut, we're now talking to you about your brain, and then we're talking to you about hormones, and you think it's just to do with hot flashes and the menopause, and now it has to do with sleep and your immune system and your future risk for health and anti-aging and staying healthy and living longer and living younger. So, at the end of the day, hopefully these 3 things, knowing that your immune system is critical, and I'd urge you to find out more about vitamin D and how that impacts your immune system. We're going to be talking to you about that at some point in November. And then your sleep, and endocrine disrupting chemicals. So let's get you started thinking outside the box on preventing something that you have a very, very high risk of getting. It's 1 in 8. So you must know at least 8 women, and one of you is going to get it. So let's change that. Let's change that by educating you that prevention is better, far better than early detection and then trying to treat it after, because we know what that looks like and no one wants to go through it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Dr. Carr, you're always such a wealth of information. Thank you for bringing this topic up, and I really enjoyed having this discussion with you. I hope our viewers enjoy it too.
So thank you, Natasha. So if you want more information, you can go into this website, drcarmd.com. That's my website, drcarmd.com/breast. And you can give your email ID and name. And Dr. Iyer writes wonderful newsletters. You're going to receive them regularly if that is what you want. And I will try to type that on the, on the video, but
so drcarmd.com, Carr with a K. So drcarmd.com/breast. And stay tuned, join us so that you can stay in touch with us to get the next webinars that are coming up to expand on some of these topics. And we always love having your feedback. So drop us a note below and let us know what you think.
Yep.
What would you like to hear more of? What did you enjoy? What do you think we should change for next time?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm going to repeat
everyone.
The 3 things again. Hormone therapy will not kill you. Focus on your sleep and get rid of the hormone disrupting chemicals as far as you can. So bye now.
Bye.